Hey everyone, so we are going to do something fun today. You will need paper and color pencils. Now my color pencils are watercolor pencils, but you can use any type of coloring pencil that you have laying around. And then we are going outside to collect pieces of nature that has texture. So I have bark, leaves, pine needles, pine cone, and sticks. But also we're going to be going outside. So you will need a piece of paper. The copying paper is the best. It's thin. So a copying paper, and you will need colored pencils. Now you can just use one color or you can use multiple colors. These are some examples of backgrounds that I went ahead and did, but I'm going to show you how I did them in just a second. Okay, so I'm outside and I have this tree right here, and I'm going to start doing my rubbing over it. You're going to use the side of your pencil when you're doing your rubbing, and you can see the texture coming through. And I'm sorry, the camera's shaky and it was really windy today. Okay, so you're going to have texture. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like if you did something soft. Like this moss right here is very soft. So I'm going to show you the results I get from it, which you can see is not much. It's just too soft. You don't get any type of good texture. Now the next one is this pine tree. Now I pulled off bark and took it inside, but I didn't like the effect like I did when I took a piece of paper out and did it on a tree. Now I really like the texture of this. I really think you can get good effects by taking a paper out into the woods or your yard and finding a tree. Now you do not have to just use trees. Now I did find this wrought iron chair and I really liked the texture, and I used it as a background for a lot of my pieces. Now I took a piece of bark off the tree and I did not care for how this turned out. It had some soft moss on it, so I didn't get a very good texture out of it. But taking a piece of paper out and doing it on the tree outside, you will get a better effect than trying to pull off a piece of bark like I did. This one just had too much moss on it. Next, we're going to look at this pine cone. Now they are prickly, so be very careful. You can wrap the paper around it and hold it firmly, and you're going to rub the side of your pencil on it. It has really good texture to it, but I didn't use it for anything else. But you can if you would like to. Now here is a leaf I picked about a week ago, and it is dry, and it's very dry and crispy, and you have lots of textures in it. I suggest if you're going to do leaves to let them dry out first before you do the rubbing. You can use fresh leaves, but they wear out quickly because of the moisture. Now you can see right here how the texture is. It's got really good texture because it's so dry. Now this one, see how flimsy it is? It's because it's a fresh leaf. I just picked it and it just rained, so there's a lot of moisture in it. It does work beautifully, but it wears out very quickly because you're pushing on it and you're pushing all the moisture out of it, so it will flatten and you will lose that texture. If you're planning to use fresh leaves, I would just pick a bunch of them so you can continue to work on your art piece without having to go back outside and pick more leaves. So first we're going to take this paper that I've already did a background on, which is with the wrought iron chair, and I put a leaf down and I'm using the side of my pencil and I'm rubbing across the leaf to layer the pattern on top of the wrought iron pattern that was already on the paper. First I did purple, and then I'm adding a little bit of pink just to add some more dimension, some more layering. Now I'm going to reposition the leaf. Make sure the veins of the leaf are pointing up. You'll get more texture out of doing that. And you can overlap them and you can position them any way you want. Now I'm going to come over to the left side over the blue, and I'm going to use this green to go over it. Make sure you feel on top of the paper where the veins are so you know where to color at. That's why you can see me when I put a leaf down, I start feeling on the paper first before I start coloring, so I know where the leaf is at. Now with the wrought iron print, I used a peach pencil and I'm using a pink pencil on this. You're going to want to go over the leaf firmly but evenly, so take your time, don't rush. And then I'm going back over it with a purple pencil. Now this leaf was one of my fresh leaves, so you can see it's very soft. So I swapped to a dried out leaf because it just wasn't showing up on paper like I wanted it to. It was very faint. You can tell the veins were very faint. So I swapped to my dried out leaf and the texture was a lot better. Next, I'm swapping to a bigger leaf, and you can see I'm feeling where the stem is. I'm going to use this watermelon pink first. Make sure you hold your paper firmly. And I'm sorry, the camera's shaking. I didn't realize I was shaking it. I lightly go over it first, and I can see where the leaf is at. And then swapping to this other brighter pink, and I'm going back over it. Again, I'm sorry for the shaky camera. And then next I'm going to grab a purple pencil and I go down the middle of the vein to add a little bit more depth, and then I went around the perimeter around the sides of the leaf just to add more depth and have a bit more of an outline of the leaf. Now next, the rubbing I have right here is actually a side of a house. It's a piece of wood, so you got that nice texture of wood. And I'm using this leaf. Make sure your veins are pointing up. I keep flipping the paper up and down till I know exactly where I want my leaf at. And the wood is a peachy color like I've used before, so I decided to try out this green. And I really like how this turned out. Now I'm going back over it with a darker turquoise, especially in the middle of the veins, to darken them and give it a little bit more depth. Now this is a rubbing from a brick wall that's outside my house, and it to me, looking at it, looked kind of like a river, like ripples in a river. So I decided to take my pine straw and place them so it would look like there's grass bordering the bottom of a river, like so. So I first place it on the paper, kind of getting an idea, and then I get them situated in my hands. You're going to feel and make sure you know where your placement is. And then I use this parakeet green and use the side of your pencil, and you're going to start your rubbing. After you get finished with this spot, then I moved my pine needles over until I did a complete border at the bottom. Once I got done with the rubbing, I then moved my pine needles over and continued doing a rubbing all the way down. So I would have like a border, it looks like grass growing on the bank of a river. Again, this is what my imagination is seeing. You might be seeing something completely different than me. And again, you just keep moving down and repositioning the pine needles to get that grass effect. I really enjoyed this one. Out of all the rubbings I did today, this was probably my favorite one. It just, to me, it looks like a grassy bank on a river. But again, you might see something completely different than I did. Next, I wanted to add one more thing to it. So I have this really long, skinny leaf, and it has some really good texture. Like I said, make sure you put the veins pointing up, and I placed it at the bottom of my grass. I really liked the brown with the green. I just felt like it added a lot to it. This was probably my favorite piece I did. It's just the contrast between the brown, the green, and the blue. I really enjoyed it. So here is some of my finished pieces. I really had fun with this. I hope you guys take the time and go outside and just look for textures and try different objects. You might find something different that I didn't. Please post pictures. I would love to see them, and I'll see you guys next time.